Hello. Cheers. Hello, T.J. Jolie, Broadway Hollywood, Clara, Theater Kid, Ohana Rose, I love that name, Musical Maddie, Norv G. Flar, Bees Arts, Jillian, ABMA, Broadway Hollywood, Stacy, Jillian, Musical Maddie, I think I said your name. Hi, Broadway Bean. Hi, Allison. Newton Marcus. Is that because you're from Newton, Mass? It's right next to where I went to college. Hi, Judy. My fellow six queen. We saw six on the same day. Hi, Tori. Hi, Amanda. Got it right. Good afternoon, everyone. You made it! Yay! Hi, Broadway Bunny. I have been listening to Six this week, but I just was listening to Emoji Land. That was a good jam. Hi, Pay Rebecca. Oh, your last name. Okay, you were from Wellesley for summer. I went to Brandeis in. I'm totally blanking on the town I was in. Waltham. Hi, Allie. I like the crowns. Julie, hi, Nat. Generamel. Broadway figure skater. Hi, Maya. Hi, Jules, House of Memes. Emoji Land turned my mood around today. I was just listening to Work Together. Okay, Broadway Bean. Hey, Margie. I was just saying I was listening to Emoji Land. You know how I feel about Emoji Land, Margie. So we're gonna. Hi, Louisa. I see you on there on Twitter all the time. Nice to see you on here. Hey, Anne. Yeah, my pleasure to bring Abby to you guys. I am. Hey, Joy. I'm very happy that she said yes. She's the second queen to be coming on, which is fantastic. I think the queens really have something special to offer this conversation about about mental wellness and that's. So in 2 seconds here, we're going to have Abby Mueller joining us. Here we are. Yay.
Did I do it?
You did
it. That's my big win of the day.
Yes.
Successful. Hi.
Your pal Sean Ellen Krill was also a little thrown by how to do the joining, but
I'm not the only one.
No, not at all. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just some musical cast album just turned me around. It was a little bit of a drag today.
Which cast album?
Well, I have been listening to Six this week, but I was just listening to Emoji Land and listening to Felicia and Natasha or Natalie Weiss singing Work Together. Yeah. So that was getting me feeling better. A little sunshine on a rainy day. So let me introduce us. So I'm Dr. Elisa Hurwitz. I'm a clinical psychologist. I also write and talk and lecture about the intersection of psychology and musicals. And that's why we're here. And my guest today is Abby Mueller, who you may know from Six, or you may know from Beautiful, and a lot of her other work. And she graciously signed on to join us today to be part of the conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think I had a suspicion that talking to the ladies playing, the queens, would be would be a great conversation. And your fellow Queen Brittany really proved that to be true. I also have Courtney coming on. She's scheduled to come on in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So, I'm so happy that you said yes. And the conversation. So for folks who are joining this series for the first time, really here to talk about mental wellness in the time of the pandemic, but we're going to talk about musicals too, and we're going to talk about things that make us happy, ways of coping, life, and throughout, please add your questions and comments in the stream, and we will get to as many questions as possible. So how are you doing?
I am doing fine. I think that's been the like how to answer this question. How are you? Right?
Yeah.
Has seemed to be this sort of challenge lately because I don't know if you've encountered this. By the way, what would you prefer to be called? What should I call you?
You can call me Elisa.
Elisa. Okay, just wanted to.
Thank you.
Elisa, yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say too, Lisa, because I feel like there's almost like this sort of feeling like we need to be like, oh, like not to say, like almost a guilt if you are feeling okay, but then also like a respect to not say you're doing too well because so many people are suffering so poorly. I don't know. It's kind of like this interesting thing. So all that to say, there's a lot of strange things happening and scary things and stressors, but I am trying to say I am fine. I'm actually pretty good, especially all things considered. And I do think that it's also important when things are going well to say it. It's not like just that we're not allowed to say. If anything, it's almost like more impetus to actually focus on what is working than what's not, because otherwise that's really kind of failing the gratitude the gratitude part of it. So yeah, I have a beautiful home. I have definitely not going hungry, and yes, I have to stay in it and all these things, but you got to look at those big things. And I have my health. So there you go. I'm doing pretty darn well.
Yeah. Trying to ride that line, that fine line, of that, it's a scary time, to varying degrees for everybody. But that also fine is relative, right? And that it is part of mental wellness to have gratitude. And that does not negate what's hard about this, right? That does not negate that it's hard to be limited in being able to go outside. It's hard to be, in a small safe, even though you're safe, or, in a restricted space and it's home. That is challenging, and we're not getting enough sunlight, we're struggling with that. Oh, hi, Lucy. And she just joined in. Good to see you here.
I'm not used to this with all the.
I know.
It's so wild.
It's about, I know there's like all these, things coming up and you're trying to like think and look at the stream at the same time. So, but it's, kind of part of the, definitely a theme of the conversations has been being comfortable in that dialectic, that existence of two seemingly opposite things at the same time. So the gratitude and the anxiety all at once, and honoring those feelings. And some people are doing okay during this, right?
Well, right. And just what you said, I think is so important, honoring the feelings. And that's so important just in general, especially I think when you're talking about health. Because, and the fact that it's not about, only the people who have it really bad get to I think it's that balance between recognizing, acknowledging your own feelings and like, this is what I feel sucks right now and this is making me sad, which is, there are a lot of people who have it way worse, but it's not like a contest of who gets to complain and who doesn't. Like, still your felt experience, your perception, you can really only feel things in your own head and body, and that everybody's feelings are valid. and it's just then what do you do with it? And I think the hope is, oh, someone just jumped into my lap. I think
Oh,
the hope is that, speaking of emotional support,
absolutely.
yeah, you know, the and then what do you have control over is like what do you do with the information, right? And so that is where the awareness of perspective comes in, and you would hope like, okay, I understand I'm really stressed out about, I'm just going to pull one out of the air right now, my unemployment claim not work, pretend, you guys, pretend this is and it's easy to just kind of spin it to that response, and then you have to go like, yes, but I do still have all my faculties, and I'm not in the hospital on a ventilator, and I'm not, and that's important to do, and to have that ability. It doesn't mean you're negating that there isn't something wrong and that you're upset, but you can acknowledge it, and then hopefully, just like any sort of emotion, it's supposed to move through, right? It's not supposed to
Right.
stay. So we really get into these sticky issues is when it gets trapped, or you're trying to avoid it or repress it. Not good.
Exactly. It moves through, and that's when it becomes problematic. If it gets stuck like a broken record, or it gets pushed down and pushed away. Now, it's okay to put it aside, which is an important distinction, but it causes harm, and it finds ways to come out if it's pushed down, which means it's and repressed. It's never, or attempted to never, be dealt with.
Right.
I take it your cat's name was Chauncey, because I'm seeing people saying Chauncey.
It is. That is her name.
Okay.
Her name.
And no joke, the pets of the country are really helping people right now. And it's actually been kind of a nice benefit of working from home. So all of the sessions that I normally do in the office, of course, are remote right now. So I get to meet everybody's pets.
That's so cool.
I know, it is really cool. So I love seeing Chauncey kind of walking across the screen there.
Or it's like if there's something she can step on and a button she can push, so she's going to get it. Do you have pets as well?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We have our second rescue pit bull type dog. He is from the South. His name is Louis, after Louis Armstrong. Our previous was Ella Fitzgerald.
I love
it. Yeah. And she was a mama dog, and he's a clown, and he makes us laugh, and he loves us. Like he has so much love to give. It's like a million kisses a day. So, thank goodness for him. Mm-hmm.
They really do. They really do. I rescued her when I was working in Utah, so she's a Utah cat.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's been really interesting having so much more time at home. I make all these jokes about like all the quarantine cat memes, because like their lives they haven't changed at all. They're
That's right.
taking all these naps, but I'm around, and so I'm watching her more, and how she's interacting with me, and they just, I don't know, I think most animals are like this, but her especially. I've always been aware of it, but especially lately, she just tunes in so much to my energy and what I need, and it's just another reminder that indeed we are all energetic beings, and we can feel. Another reason why I think this is it's not like I think, this is just the truth, why this feels so heavy right now. I mean, we can feel the collective repercussions of this, and it stinks, but it also explains why we may be feeling so sad and so down. There's a reason for it, which I think is good to acknowledge, just like we were saying before, just acknowledging it, and it helps me too, right? Because our brains are like figure things out. That's just the way our brains are designed. And I know in the past where I've gotten, when I get too caught up in the stories or kind of existential, well, why am I feeling this? Or why do I feel so ABC? It helps when you look at the facts. You're like, well, this is a really garbagey time right now. There's a lot of horrific things happening. So if you didn't feel bad, wouldn't that be weirder?
That's right. That's right.
As a different way of looking at it. Yeah.
It's interesting, you're bringing up kind of that collective trauma. And I just wonder if like a lot of people maybe don't have experience with that. I'm just thinking, I'm a Jewish woman, and like the idea of like living through a trauma together, it's like, yep, been through this before. Not that that makes it any easier or anything, but it's just, that idea that like we'll get through this. Not everybody will, but collectively we will. And that actually brings me to a question that I see on here, which I think is great. Bringing this up from Broadway, being advice on how to deal with uncertainty of my future. I'm a high school junior, and everything is, I can't see the rest of it, but it's probably, changed or, canceled or that. And I think, I think part of what's hard for young people in dealing with the situation is that this is their first big thing, right? Like national or in this case global issue. So folks who have lived a little bit longer, like we've been through stuff before. We've been through 9/11, or the Challenger explosion. Is kind of these national touch points that everyone survived together. And the first thing I want to say is, first of all, it's those are real losses, like losing out on those rites of passage from high school, whether it's the show or prom or graduation or, a performance, like all of those things. It's completely valid that you have feelings about losing those things. And also to know that it won't be like this forever. It's hard if you've never kind of gotten to the other side of something this like this, to know that you do get to the other side. You will get to the other side, but honor those feelings and those losses. If you're in a place where you're ready to make some action with that, find ways to connect maybe with your, again, just for example, with your castmates, on a Zoom call, or, even playing, like Animal Crossing. I'm hearing about Animal Crossing all the time, or watch stuff. There's so much streaming content, if that fulfills you. But it's, there's losses here. Yeah. And you're entitled to feel sad about those. Do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And as we were saying before, like it is a grief. Not only are we grieving like the loss of our lives as we knew it. I mean, that sounds uber dramatic, but our way of life changed very dramatically, almost overnight. And
yeah,
and that's upsetting, even if you're not aware of it. I read a great article. You probably saw it as well. That article was going around like, oh, what you're feeling is grief.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I've always found it interesting that like in the, and I'm not an expert in any way, but just I remember this sticking out to me in the Chinese medicine tradition, like the organ of grief is the lungs, and you think like how this illness is affecting the body, and the metaphoric lungs. It also doesn't mean literally the lungs, but the earth is potentially, grieving as well, if you want to look at it like that. And so, yeah, this stuff is really painful. And kind of circling back to what we said before, it's not like there's an order of validity in pain. Pain is your pain. And especially this stuff that seems like, oh, this was, you kind of have one high school graduation, or you have one, this was the musical this year, or, it's a lot. I don't know what sort of came into my head though, even when you said that, is that while there have been, sort of mass scenarios like this, horrible things happening, this is still unlike anything that anyone in our lifetime has experienced.
100%. Yeah.
So that is a factor. Even people that have something else to refer to, this is still different, and there's so much anxiety and fear just around that, of something so unknown. But kind of in the same breath, I don't know what people are, it's going to be interesting, and there's no way to guess, but I wouldn't totally write it off that there's a possibility that these graduations won't happen in some iteration later, or that these shows will never come back, or not to, hold on to false hope or something, but there could be, it's still up to us. These the rites of passage, they're ceremonial things. If it's really that important to us, I think it'll be interesting to see like how how we adjust that and amend that and maybe do it in a different way in a couple months. You know, maybe thinking of things is so final, like I will never get to do this ever in my life. I know that's pretty overwhelming for me. And when I'm thinking about that,
Yeah.
I get really sad. It's interesting. My grandmother is 101.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
God bless.
yes, she's amazing. And my dad said something really interesting to me the other night that she had said to, she's in a you know, a nursing facility, and she had said to one of the admins, you know, she's lived through World War II and a lot of stuff. She's seen a lot. She, I guess, missed the first pandemic, or the last pandemic, just barely. But she said something so interesting. She said, you know, even during World War II and all the horrible things that were happening, we could still hug each other and go see each other. We weren't separated. She's like, I have, you know, and she's in this community with a lot of elders who have seen a lot of, you know, and even they're being like, this is really hard. And these are people who have lived through the Holocaust. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is hard in a different way.
Yeah.
And that level of being separated and isolation and not being able to lean on the basic human structures that we have for comfort, like touch and seeing people face to face, it's putting another strain on all of this. And I think it's helpful to acknowledge that. I just read an article, excuse me, about, you know, Zoom fatigue and what that is, as we're talking on a screen here, and the fact that, you know, that our brains, it's, if you've ever, I don't know if you guys have felt that, you're doing all these Zooms or you're doing FaceTimes with your friends and you're like, God, I just need to like take a nap. I just feel like drained. And it's basically because, sorry, I'm choking. It's basically, I guess, because, you know, cognitively, your brain is like, okay, I know I'm talking to Lisa. She's right there. It's supposed to feel like we're in this, but I know she's not. And you're basically tricking your brain. And so your brain's like, okay, I'm going to keep this ruse up. I'm going to go along with this. But it takes a lot of cognitive to do that. So
we're also seeing ourselves. So you know, I'm doing these, you know, teletherapy sessions all day, and I see myself, which makes me more self-aware than I want to be when I'm self-aware in a different way, because then I'm self-aware of like how my makeup looks or whatever, like when normally I just wouldn't be thinking about. So it takes up extra bandwidth, as does the stress of this entire crisis, right? It takes up bandwidth too. It's a Broadway figure skater said that her grandma said the same thing. Your grandma said, you know, we were talking, answering a question from Broadway Bean about, you know, missing all these things with high school. And it does lead me to think like what that was like for you guys and you, because, you know, high school has all these rites of passage and rituals and traditions, so does the theater. And you guys were right up into heading into opening night when the shutdown happened, which is full of rituals and traditions and, you know, kind of a rite of passage for the show. So how have you dealt with that? With again, maybe that will come back. Hopefully you will have that, but you know, we're right there on the precipice.
We are, and having to sit with the fact, like, gosh, I just have no idea what's going to happen. That's a really uncomfortable place for me to be. Anyway, and you know, let me know if you guys feel the same, but it's hard being
the unknowing.
We feel more comfortable when we know it's going to happen. And certainly when it's something joyful and you're looking forward to, it's that much more of a bummer. And so, you know, we were a few hours away from opening night, and then this happened, and I was honestly pretty chill about it. It was funny. My family was here, and I actually got to like see them more. I wouldn't have seen them that day otherwise, probably, you know, maybe until after the part, because things are so nuts.
Right.
But no, I wanted, I wanted to not feel sort of offended by the fact they were like, "You're handling this really well, Abby." And I wanted to be like, "Thanks, guys. You know, I've been working on this for a few years, so not shocked that I was handling it okay." But you know, they're like, "You're pretty chill." I was pretty chill because it just seemed like it wasn't a huge surprise, and I was like, "Okay." I just sensed that like there was so much more. You know, at some point, again, not to discredit your own feelings, but you just knew that this was so much bigger than my show or someone else's show, or, you know, there's a lot going on. So I think that sort of helped to try to stay calm. And that being said, there's still a lot of disappointment. And I've talked with my castmates. I think we all feel similarly, that there was sort of like the initial shock, and then some of the other disappointment and sort of grief of it kind of came up later. Like, oh man, the expectations I had, which is like life in general, you know, you can apply the same things. Man, I really wanted this to turn out like this, and this isn't going like I planned. And I I I don't know if it's naive. I still have this faith that it's going to come back. I think, well, I know theater will in general, and as far as our show, it just sort of feels like it's going to come back, and we will hopefully have these sort of rites of passage that we were expecting. I certainly hope that's the case. But I do feel like all of this will come back, and sort of that's sort of, I know that's different than say a graduation or something else, but I I just offer that as a potential thing to think about. I think it's going to look different than we thought it was, right?
Yeah.
But there's always possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, kind of all the feelings, right? The
Yeah.
acceptance, the shock, the
Denial, all the things.
yeah,
Oh, surely this will happen. Oh no, that's
Yep,
not.
yep, yep. So we have a question here from Ohana Rose, which I love that. I love that handle. What can we do to feel our feelings without repressing or getting stuck? That is a great question. Do you have any lived experience that you would love to share, on that topic? Or if you need a second, I can jump in.
No, I do. This is something I'm constantly. Wait, what was it? Can I see the question again or not?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Just to not stay stuck, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. I think that's the gag, right, guys? Like anything, no matter if it's good, but usually it's negative emotions, as we were saying before. Like, there we go. What can we do to feel our feelings without getting? I think, just like Elisa said, first of all, acknowledging it is huge. I think most people are don't do that step. Have you found that? I'm sure you have. If people in this, like, we are not really necessarily, if you were, amazing, but some of us were not necessarily raised with this concept of like, it's okay to feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Based on just sort of our lived experiences and the program when we got, you might have gotten messages that like, oh, it's better to keep that inside, or, you know, if it's inconvenient to other people, you know, feelings are not necessarily, and this isn't to say that you go and spew your feelings all over everybody else, but just even as little kids that are taught like, stop crying, or you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, stuff like that. Basically, you're kind of invalidating this child's experience that, you know, whether you think it's right for them to be crying or not, they're crying and there's a reason. Yep. And they don't know because they don't have the cognitive development to, you know, you can't reason them out of it. Right. Kind of, you know, talk about the fight or flight response, you know, like you've seen a toddler melt down, you can't talk them out of it. They're in the red zone. And that's kind of where we get to when we're in this stress response. And I think that's really important because that is what's happening right now. And just to realize that already, I love what you said about bandwidth. I think it's such a great term right now. It's like you only have so much bandwidth that you can work with, and give yourself a little bit of, cut yourself some slack right now, because a lot of that bandwidth is already being taken up just by waking up in the morning and going through the day, which sounds ironic when you realize some of us, you know, you're still working, but there's a lot of us that aren't doing a whole lot. And I don't know, but then the self-critical voice comes in, right? It's like, well, why are you tired? Why you haven't done anything? Blah, 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 blah. Right. So I think the best thing to do to not stay stuck is to literally keep the energy moving. And this gets into something that I think is really important. And that is, even when we talk about mental health, it's kind of funny to me, right? Because I feel like even that is compartmentalizing this part of our health and this part of our health. And we already know at this point that it's the same thing. The Your mind, your body, it's all health.
Mm-hmm.
Wellness is about the synergy between the two and realizing that they're absolutely two sides of the same coin. And for me, I found that I can really get stuck up here, and what needs to shift is on an energetic level, which is really in the body. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really never taught that, because that's really where the emotions sit, right? And they get stuck. Anyone who's ever
Yeah.
felt nervous and the butterflies in your stomach, or sad and you get a tummy ache, or a broken heart and your chest hurts, like anxiety and you get tingling in your fingers, like we know that the emotions and the feelings have a physical component. And not only that, you talk about the feedback loop of neurotransmitters and all that stuff. But so what can you do to try to get out of it? That's why when your mom was like, hey, go take a walk around the block or something, when you feel sad, you're like, oh, that's stupid. That stuff does work, because it's
Yeah.
sometimes you just shift the energy, because you can't figure it out on the level of your mind. You have to
Yeah.
you have to change the feeling, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
because that's really what's bothering you, is the feeling.
Yeah.
The thoughts can create the feelings, and the feelings can create the thoughts, but you want to feel differently. So, I mean, for me, there's a couple tools that I've learned that try to get me actually out of my head and back into my body, um, which has been a very, very, kind of long, very journey for me. But that's why, I used to think yoga was about like getting the pose right, or getting, it's really, these geniuses thousands of years ago figured out that when you do this and you breathe and you put your body in these positions, it just allows things to move and shift. So
Mm-hmm.
similarly stuff, this sounds so basic, you guys, and I forget to do it all the time. But even something as simple as like taking 5 deep breaths,
Yep.
like it will change your mood.
Mm-hmm.
Our like, and I think that's something that is so sort of mind blowing, no pun intended, but like our bodies are, I believe, our bodies are always trying to help us, right? And they're sending us messages. They're on our side, and they want to feel better. And we have like a lot of tools literally at our fingertips that we're not necessarily utilizing. Something that sounds, cheesy or woo, like take a deep breath. It will alter your, your chemical levels and your blood levels, and it will make you feel better and hopefully calmer. All this stuff, the purpose, I think, is to soothe your nervous system so that you then have the cognitive um, ability to be like, okay, I think I can see that differently now, or maybe I can think about that differently now, or now I'm able to maybe address this thing. But when you're in this stress response, it it incapacitates your cognitive abilities. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there was a great there was this great I think it was a tweet that I had a friend posted as an Instagram post about actually what's happening in your brain right now. Did you see that one?
No.
I'm trying to find it. Sorry, is this going too meandering? I'm trying to answer the
No.
question too, but
You actually have a lot of you have a lot of wisdom. It's almost like you've taken some clinical psychology courses.
oh, thank you for
You're
that.
spot on.
I'm really interested. I'm not, and like I said, I have not taken any classes, but I'm just really interested in it. I think I'm interested in the neurological and physiological aspect of mood,
Yeah.
because I was never given that information. you know, when I was younger and having these struggles, and there's a lot of like hacks that, you know, they're not hacks, they're truth, but, you know, tips, tools, tricks, whatever you want to call it, something like, oh my gosh, like EFT, I use every day. I don't know if you're familiar with, if you use that in your practice, Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
have you talked about that on this
I
show?
haven't.
Oh, well, so basically, guys, I don't know if you've heard of EFT. It stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, which sounds kind of woo-woo, but colloquially known as tapping, and it is a, what would you call it? It's a stress relief tool. It's a pain relief tool. It's basically a tool to help regulate your nervous system, and it's so easy and it's so miraculous. And if there was one thing I could like say on the internet ever, I think it would be teaching people how to, that this is a tool that is available to you. It's free. There's no side effects, and it is using your fingers to tap on. If you've heard, you're just tapping on them. And the amazing thing is that and there's a ton of studies out on this now that explains the science behind it, but it allows you to calm down your limbic system, your nervous system, and actually reduce cortisol in your body, which is the stress hormone that gets pumped out when you're, you know, running from the saber-toothed tiger, and that's how our brains were designed to keep us safe. But in this scenario where you're in this fight or flight response for a long period of time, like, I don't know, since, you know, March when this all happened, now we're dealing with chronic stress, and we know that that is not good for the body. So you basically tap on its,
Sorry about that, guys. Got technical difficulties, so we'll start this back up and get Abby back on. Thank you for rejoining. And we had questions in the queue. So please, if you had a question we didn't get to, please ask it again and add it to the queue, and we will try to get to it. Thanks for joining back on. He was just in the middle of dispensing some awesome knowledge when that happened, dropping some knowledge. Yes, I'm going to save the live. It'll be on there for 24 hours, and so then you can screen record. Yes, I saved the last one. So then you can record it from your own phone and save it for yourself if you'd like. It won't be saved forever. It's like theater; it's ephemeral. The water sound in the background is my fish tank. We have a couple of Cory catfish that hang around. Yeah, Louisa, she's an awesome interview. She is coming in. She is coming in with the wisdom. Yeah, no problem for saving it. Yeah, the water sound actually is really relaxing. Hi, sorry, technical difficulties.
oh God, I was like, what did I do now?
No. The technical goddesses or whatever, like just got angry, I guess. And you were just dropping some wonderful knowledge about EFT.
Oh yes. So anyways, yeah, so you essentially tap on these points. And I don't know, should I show them?
Go for it, please.
But I sorry, I wasn't planning, but I'm getting off. I wasn't planning on doing this. But
or not if you just want to like contextualize it. That's
no,
okay.
that's fine. I just want to make sure like I said the basics. And again, I am no expert. I am not a doctor. I just this is something that has really helped me, so that's why I wanted to share it. Basically you're calming down your amygdala, and It works on mood things, emotional things. It works on pain. There's a fantastic organization called thetappingsolution.com. I think that's probably where I first learned. I don't remember exactly where I first came upon tapping, but I was really help with anxiety and panic symptoms. And for me, this is the best thing that I found for dealing with those, especially acute panic symptoms. So, and it's been really useful in treating PTSD. It's essentially you're rewiring your brain, and it can actually really help with resolving trauma, which Elisa knows so much about. It was a while before I kind of put two and two together that I was like, oh, and if you tap during, say, a typical psychotherapy session, because even by re-talking about things, sometimes you can be re-traumatizing the body. This is actually, it's changing the experience in your body as you are feeling the emotions. Mm-hmm. So Tapping Solution, they also have a documentary called The Tapping Solution. I recommend if you want to just know what it's about. And the thetappingsolution.com is an amazing resource. They have an app now. It's so freaking cool. They have an app.
Great.
Has the tapping meditations on it. So literally, and there's a ton of free ones now. There were already a bunch of free ones. You can subscribe, which I finally did because I wanted like all the, I mean, they're like, it's like tapping for the pain of rejection, tapping for neck pain, like everything. But what's been really cool is since the pandemic, they always had a special section of the app that was free for teachers. And whom else, but they have since unveiled a whole coronavirus section of the app, and they've made it free for first responders. But
great.
Free. So if you're interested, but so it works on basically anything, and it's free. Like I said, you have all the equipment, and there's no side effects. So essentially what you're doing is you're feeling, even if it's like, oh, my neck or a headache, or I'm really mad, or I'm really sad. You just want the feeling in your body, and there's ways you can do a setup statement, all that, but that gets kind of fancy. You don't need to get that fancy. And essentially, you start on this, it's called the karate chop point, which is obviously, and you just sort of, I mean, you can say like, even though I'm feeling really angry right now, I love and accept myself and I'm okay. Or even though I'm feeling really anxious right now, I love, accept myself, and I'm okay. Or you can just think about it. You don't have to say words, because a lot of people get caught up in the words. I got really caught up in the words at the beginning too, and quite often now I just wait until I'm really triggered, and then I'm like, I remember, okay, start tapping. In fact, right before this interview, I was nervous because I was like, what am I doing? I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I to go on and say I can talk? But Elisa was so sweet too, and just to trust that, no, just let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this stuff, and it'll come up. But I was definitely tapping before this, like, please don't let me, look like a totally off in one of my prayers. So essentially, and what's cool about a lot of these points, I found when I started learning about it, I was like, oh, wow, I always sort of tapped right here. I can't, sorry, see my big fuzzy. Like I always sort of, this is always kind of tender, or these spots, you probably intuitively have like done this or put your hands on your face in certain places because you intuitively knew that these are meridian points and they're energy centers. So the first one is the eyebrow point, and it's like right there where your eyebrow starts. And so you're upset, like, oh, I'm really angry. Oh man, I'm just really, really angry. The side of the eye is the next one. Then the under eye, under the nose, under the mouth. I'm going really fast now. You can, and you don't have to tap real. It's like just gently, like don't
hurt yourself.
Don't hurt yourself here. Then the collarbone point, which is, where your like clavicle is, and then you come down about an inch, and sort of you can kind of go over to that. This is my favorite. I mean, I always feel this one. I learned about an extra point the other day too. The thymus gland, which is sort of like, anyway, that's like extra credit, you guys. You don't have to worry about that. But basically, and then the under the arm, which is right like where your bra strap would be for girls or boys. And then the top of the head. So that's like one round, and that's it's that easy, and you just kind of keep going around on those points and see how it makes you feel. But I would encourage everybody, if you're interested at all, to do look into it further and try it out. If you go on YouTube, there's like a gajillion tapping meditations out there, and a lot of great practitioners. Jessica Ortner and Nick Ortner are the people that founded the tapping solution, but there's a lot of other great practitioners on there who have a lot of knowledge, and it really helps. I really enjoy having somebody sort of guiding me, but the point is that don't, a lot of times I feel like when something's wrong, we try to not really let it, we don't want to get upset. And the cool thing about this is like, let yourself get upset, because that's how you'll be able to clear the upset.
Yeah.
Like I mean, if you're crying, it's great. And by the way,
Yeah.
crying is really great, you guys, because it just means that it's getting stuff out.
Yeah.
I would say it's moving. That means energy is moving. And when you feel
Yeah.
stuck, to get back to this question, I'm sorry, that was so convoluted. Anything that means it's moving is a good thing, because it's not meant to stay. And yeah, and that took me a while too, to not be afraid of emotion, or afraid of tears, or afraid of whatever was coming out, because it just means, better out than in. Just something that wants to go. It wants to be released.
Yeah.
And then you will feel better. And that's really the goal, right? So
Yeah. The only way to the other side is through. You can't go
yeah,
around.
no,
No. And, what EFT taps into, pun intended, is the idea that anxiety in all its forms is an evolutionary leftover, that it was useful to us when we were surviving in the wilderness, which of course we're not doing anymore, as a way to get our body ready to survive in a fight or flight situation. We're rarely in situations now, if ever, in a lifetime. And so some of us just are quicker to have those triggers, to feel anxious, than others. And so that your system, when you're feeling anxious, whether it's PTSD, whether it's social phobia, whether it's stage fright, whatever it may be, is your body responding like it's a life or death situation, literally,
protecting
when
you.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's protecting you. But the threat is perceived, and it's not actually life or death. And so anxiety is cognitive, so it's thoughts, it's emotions, it's the feelings, and it's physiological. And the tapping helps bring down the physiology. Because anxiety is the body speeding up, and so you're slowing it down. So thank you for sharing that. People are responding on here that they never knew that about that.
Oh, good.
That is news to them. So a great resource for folks. I
Yeah,
love
I didn't
seeing that.
either. I mean, this is this kind of thing. I'm like, wait a minute, and this is free, and anyone can do it. Like,
Yeah.
so thank you for letting me share that. I really feel like it's like, should be on the list of, I mean, I think they should be teaching it to kids in school. They're starting to do that, but because kids can, this is great for little kids too.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it, and they sort of understand it too. And yeah, just like you said, that aspect of anxiety, that it's not something you can think your way out of.
Right.
You have
Right.
to change it on the level of the body, because that's on it. Start feeling that, mentally, it already means that a cascade has been set off in your body. And certainly doing all you can to, and sort of to eliminate those psychiatric pretenders, if you will, stuff that mimics being chased by a tiger. That's kind of a whole nother conversation about that and what you put in your body and stuff like that. But that is the goal. But once you're in that acute state, it's really awesome to have tools like that to bring you back and sort of and literally calm things down so you can function.
Yeah. We have a question here that kind of switches over to talking about emotions on the stage. So when you sing Heart of Stone, you bring out so much emotion. And there's like a second part of it, how do you keep Jane Seymour's emotions from affecting your mental well-being? I mean, Jane Seymour in Heart of Stone goes through a loss. I mean, this isn't a spoiler alert. Like you can
Now
hear
that
the song. And it's history.
yeah.
You emotionally go through the loss of your son. Oh, am I frozen?
Oh, it froze for a
I think I'm
second.
frozen.
I can hear you, but I can't. There we go. Is it back? Uh-oh, now I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Act 3. Welcome back, Broadway Hollywood. Lucy Webster. Oh, Hannah Rose. Now I saw your comment earlier about not being Oh, Hannah Rose. Third time's a charm. I'm going to call this Act 3, guys. Oh my gosh, thanks for hanging in there. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. A three doche. Welcome back, everybody. The quickest intermission, yeah. I hope you all were able to make it to the bathroom. The lines weren't too long. Oh my goodness. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Rachel. I see you. All right. Abby, back for Act 3. Thanks for rejoining, everybody.
I'm still here.
Yes. So, sometimes 90th birthday reference.
Yeah, bringing it all back.
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, it is like, I don't know where you are, but there's been like a windstorm, a complete.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that electromagnetic.
Something, yeah. Well, I'm calling this Act 3 and was joking that I hope everybody got to the bathroom in time and the line wasn't too long.
That's real.
Yeah. Gosh, and so we were saying, asking the question about Jane Seymour in her song, in her solo, Heart of Stone, which you go through it, and you are dealing with the loss of your son and the loss of your own life in the song. How do you experience the emotion of that song but contain it so that you don't take it home?
Wow, good question. This is that's a great question. I think one I'm still figuring out. That's up with any sort of show when you're doing an emotional role. Speaking of physiological responses and emotional responses in the body, right? Like as actors, we're kind of putting ourselves into this emotional state, and your body doesn't know the difference. You know what I mean? Even though
the body does not know the difference.
It doesn't. So you're essentially stressing it over and over and over again, right? I know this came up a lot in Beautiful for me, and I finally realized it. I was like, God, I understand why I'm. Well, there were a lot of other things going on, but like, just the fact of like, oh, my body doesn't know that I'm. My body thinks that I'm getting divorced 8 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a toll. So then, what do you do to like? 6 is obviously very different than Beautiful, and it's been interesting though, because it's almost like a little bit of a mind, you know what, because it's like it's fun, and then kind of like 0 to 60 out of nowhere, I have to drop into this place and then come out of it,
because you go right into House of Holbein with
into frigging house
which is
buying,
like
which is like is brilliant. I mean, the show's brilliant how it's constructed,
silly.
and you need that palate cleanser kind of
No,
after, and the whole show, the construct is genius. Um,
it is.
but it is, it's not like, and because every queen kind of has her own emotional track, and then some have more emotional tracks than others, and so kind of navigating all that is has been interesting. But as I said, it would be for every show. So I don't know. As I've done it, I've been doing it for a while now, since last year or whatever, and just as an actor, I think I've gotten a little more successful at finding out what I need to do personally to take care of myself, so that 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 excess charge, right, is released from my body, because that's what's happening. And so, especially with this show, and a lot of it isn't conscious, right, Elisa? A lot of this is subconscious. Like I said, it's sort of like tricking your mind. And I'm in no way like a method actor. I don't know how to explain. I don't have like a technique or a method, you guys. I'm first, I don't know. I just sort of do it. So I know there are people that they're very like there's a technique there, and I mean, I hope I have some sort of technique, but you know what I mean. It's not like I believe I am James, it's not like I do this. It just sort of, I try to put myself there and kind of channel it. And I don't know, sometimes it works. So then, and especially because this show is so physical, I think that actually might be really helpful. That the fact of after it, then you just literally shake everything out and everything keeps moving. And we don't stop moving really the entire show. But certainly I found throughout my career and as I've gotten older, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that the show is super physical, but the importance of body work, massage, even tapping counts as anything that's going to kind of clear things out and keep things moving is kind of way, but emotionally, like we were saying, you want it to kind of keep moving up and out and not get stuck, and eating things that hopefully support that as well. Yeah, I guess that's kind of how I would answer it. Does that make sense? Oh no. I lost her again. Should I hang up? Oh, you can hear me? Can you hear me, guys? Oh, weird.
The marathon of like seeing Harry Potter parts one and two, or oh gosh, I don't know, like just any plays where it's a long time. This is the marathon. We could hear Abby, but not me. Okay. Um, it's such a weird glitch that happens. Act four, here we come. I love a four act play. It's a really long opera, yeah. Yes, it is frustrating, Maya. You're right. Thank you for for your perseverance. I'm sorry that technical difficulties are getting in the way of, um, you know, of the continuity here. Let's see. All right. Dang. Danny City. Oh, thanks, Danny City. Nice to see you on here. Everybody loves a 4-act play, right?
They're so popular these days, you know?
I know. I know.
People love it.
I am so sorry. I feel responsible for this, even though I know it has nothing to do with me. Because I'm hosting, I'm so sorry. Thank you for everyone hanging in. Everyone keeps coming back, and you keep
Oh,
coming
that's so
back.
sweet.
Thank you.
Guys. Oh my gosh, please, no worries. It's obviously doing. These are
Yeah.
trying.
They are trying times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were just saying about Jane Seymour, and the containment. It's interesting because the more I've talked to actors over the years of doing this doctor drama, and therapists really have in common, are really important. The the uh, the sitting in intimacy with emotions, something that we both do. I see that you're pausing a bit, so I'm wondering if we're gonna head into the same problem, and I do want to be able to have a proper closing number here.
Okay.
So let's say that we're going to wrap up, even though I could talk to Abby all day about. And I'm sorry we didn't get to more questions. Thank you, Abby, for coming on and sharing about emotional wellness and self-care. It was a wonderful conversation, and thank you everyone for joining us and rejoining. Yeah, and joining again. And if you let's see. Monday, my next was on Monday. I have Ezra Meese from Jagged Little Pill, and I just want to wish everybody.
Okay, I think I have. Okay, thank you, everybody.